Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Wild the Motormouth and Wild Bill Winters. And Bill, welcome back for another round of this banner with us. I know we have a lot of fun doing the program every week. What do you got to say, buddy?
Good evening, Scott. Always a pleasure.
So, what do you want to talk about here? I know you have certain things you want to mention initially before we get to the topics.
Well, I think the first thing we need to do is put this Colin Kaepernick thing to bed. I've been reading a little bit and also following what's been going on over the last couple of years. And quite frankly, both sides just don't trust each other. And there's no way that Colin's going to get back in the league, particularly after some of the things that he did on his side and with some of the things that the NFL did on their side. I found it interesting that the NFL contacted him after not having been in touch with him at all for 3 years. And they gave him a couple hours to formally get a workout at the Falcons complex. And they also wanted him to sign an interesting waiver that's unlike the standard waiver that they give players when they try out for injuries and yada, yada, yada. That basically said that, that he can't sue them for, basically can't litigate them or take them to court for anything. And, so you can see a typical interview where he would come in for a job interview, okay, and, they turn around and go, okay, Colin, we'll let you back in the league, but can you make a promise to us that you won't take a knee? And, the thing that the American public needs to understand, this is the business about profits, and that's what rules. Not about the fans, not about the players, okay? It's not about the cities they represent or the tradition. It's about profits. And it's something that you have to really learn when you're young. So Colin turns around and says, I'm not going to do that, and I may take a knee if I feel like it. Well, the NFL's not going to let him into the workforce. And that's the issue that you have. So this doesn't have anything to do with anything other than profit. So both sides don't trust each other. It's an impasse, and basically I believe Colin Kaepernick's career in the NFL is over. However, there may be one team out there that may go against the president and bring him in and all that kind of stuff, but I seriously doubt it. So I think that's a good way to start with our show a little bit, about what's been going on out there.
Yeah, you're right, Bill. I think you alluded to it yesterday. His goose is cooked. To think that the guy, you said it earlier, how bad does he really want to play? And obviously not bad enough. Otherwise, he would try to put certain things aside. But, there's one thing to utilize a platform and there's another not to. And, now if he gets blackballed, he certainly deserves it. He really does. Not that he didn't deserve it before either, Bill, because when you bring the president in and it becomes, and you're talking about a league that gets divided because of what he's doing, you don't need to set off a firestorm. As if this league has enough headaches to deal with to add this guy? Seriously? I don't know, Bill. Doesn't work for me.
Well, the thing you have to understand, this is about profits. And when a player takes a knee for whatever his reasons are, and a lot of us don't disagree with, what he has to say, but it's the arena he chose to do it in. And when you take a knee like that, all of a sudden people turn off the TV set. And what happens is when you go to redo your contracts and revenues are down, well, the TV rights money goes down, and it hurts everybody in the bottom line, and that's the chain. And you need to understand that. And he made a decision to cross the line and do something that, some people think he's a hero for. I just think that there could have been a better way for him to do it, and he cost him his career. And, then they come back 3 years later, and it's the same again.
Right.
Can we get you to do what we ask you to do? And the answer is no. He wears a T-shirt called Kunta Kinte on it.
Right.
Okay? So, you just sit back and going, is this guy really serious about playing football? And, the thing that concerns me is that, the Ravens reached out to him a couple of years ago.
Right.
He turned him down. All right, and so that kind of let me know know that maybe he's had his fill of football, and maybe this is about him starting some career, as a political activist. And I think the NFL came in and just wanted to squash this because, I was listening to some experts talk about it, a whole lot more about the situation than I do. And the one guy says, well, why would the NFL contact him? Just contact him out of the blue in 3 years. I just think they want to squash this and get rid of it for the last time. All right, and so they put him in a no-win situation where no player is going to sign that waiver. All right, so basically it was an evidence front and just a big PR job. And, the National Football League says, let's get this off the plate. Sorry, we got enough stuff going on with our players right now. Okay, we don't need any more headaches. Okay, this is affecting our bottom line. And, if this guy's really serious and he wants to play, we'll make it look like, he doesn't want to play. All right, by, having come in and not agreeing to sign the waiver. And then, having people that are going to basically, make him sound like he wants to be a martyr and say they're done with him and everything else. And as a player, I understand Colin's situation. But you cross the line, and if you want to play in the National Football League, you need to keep your mouth shut and do what they ask you to do. Now, I'm going to give you a little reference here.
Sure.
And, this is something our audience needs to know. And before we start, I'd like to just tell the audience, this is how you find me.
Okay.
Go to YouTube and type in Bill Winters football. Make sure you type in football afterwards. And what you will see is you'll see a purple circle with me wearing a Nike hat. Now, I put that Nike hat on before all this stuff happened because it was the only one that could fit my bucket head. And the cameraman wanted me to wear a hat and sunglasses.
Right.
Now, I have gotten a lot of responses by people who now look at this Nike emblem as someone that's associated with Colin Kaepernick. And I believe in what Colin Kaepernick is saying. Okay, a lot of us do. I mean, this is, the American public's not that naive. But I also know that I don't agree at all with the how he did it. Taking a knee and causing offense to himself, throwing his team under the bus for something, a bigger issue. And that just wasn't the right platform, but you don't understand what the National Football League deals with, which we just got done discussing. It's all about profits. Okay? So I'd like people to understand how they can find me on YouTube by going to Bill Winters Football. You'll see a purple circle and you subscribe. And we're going to start putting our shows on there. Now, on my YouTube channel, I have about 20 videos. And these videos are not for same as promotion. But as we move forward in our show, you're going to be able to reference things that we talk about through these games. Mr. Trump is in there. Doug Flutie's in there. Herschel Walker's in there. Steve Young's in there. A lot of very well-known NFL players are in there. And what I think you're going to see is history has a tendency to repeat itself. And even though these videos are from the 70s and 80s, you can see the evolution of a lot of things. For example, televising of games. And how much better they make it look by changing camera angles and putting people on AstroTurf and having uniforms look uniform. And yet, when you look back 6 or 7 years earlier, it's the same players. It just doesn't look as good. So you're going to see an evolution of a lot of things. And this is when ESPN was just starting out. All right, so I think here it is 35 or 40 years later, and we have a new arena coming in the world of professional sports, called the XFL, which is going to play in the spring. And I think people are going to see that history has a tendency to repeat itself. So really our show is going to educate people on what I call the finer nuances of professional sports, which will allow us to separate us from a lot of our competitors. Also, you can find me on Facebook. Okay, and in my Facebook, what I do is I post pictures once a week on Throwback Thursday, and this is just for credibility, but also that people like to see things in visuals. So as we move forward, you got videos on Facebook, you also have pictures, but what it will do is it will reinforce what we talk about. All right, so a little shameless promotion here, but at the same time, there's a reason for why we're doing this and why I'm telling people about how to access me on Facebook and also how to access me on YouTube channel. I want to get that out of the way. Okay?
No problem.
So thank you for that, Scott.
My pleasure, Bill. My pleasure. All right, on to the other business at hand, okay? And that's it. We let off with Kaepernick, okay? In your backyard, the Houston Astros caught cheating with the technology. Elaborate on what you've got there.
All right. Well, the commissioner is not happy. And from what I'm hearing, from what my sources are telling me, that he could come down really hard on them if the investigation shows that the Astros have been doing this for a few years. This opens up a whole other can of worms because you know that if the Astros are doing this, probably some other teams are doing it. All right, but there's probably going to be heavy fines financially, and if it's bad enough, you're probably going to set the organization back a few years by taking draft choices away. Okay? Now, while we're going through all of this, okay, and remember we're coming off a Cardinals baseball executive going to prison for hacking into the Astros database. So we have an issue out there right now where everybody is doing cyber espionage and using all this technology, and this is kind of destroying the integrity of the game to a large degree, and these are things we're going to talk about moving forward. But today, I love that Jeff Luhnow comes out and talks about how he thinks that 25 to 26% of the minor league baseball teams should suspend operations. Why? To save the Astros and Major League Baseball a considerable amount of money. And I just think that is dead wrong. I think that there's a lot of tradition in baseball, and not everything is about money. And again, here we go talking again about this pendulum. On the right side is basic economics and capitalism. On the left side of the pendulum, as it swings back and forth, is social justice and democracy and people all getting a fair opportunity. Excuse me. That pendulum needs to stay in the middle. And right now, it's so far to the left right now that we have executives that are putting their foots in their mouth and saying things because of economics. And then you've got Daryl Morey with the Rockets, and that tweet probably cost the NBA billions. I hear he's been ostracized, so we'll talk about that in a few minutes. But, just talking about the Astros right now, we got to be very careful right now because the Major League Baseball is in a very tenuous situation right now with the technology.
Right.
Okay, they're talking about possibly having automated strike zones. They're talking about, maybe cutting back 25 to 26 to 28% of the minor league baseball teams. You're talking about tradition and fabric and stuff that's worked for years, and they want to come in and throw us underneath the bus for the sake of efficiency and money.
Right.
And to me, that there needs to be some really long discussions before they start doing this stuff. Because, quite frankly, I'm not going to watch a baseball game with a machine calling unsponsor strikes. I don't need to sit there, in a playoff game or a World Series game, sitting here watching a 12-minute dissertation, okay, and watching Joe Torre calling New York, and nobody understands the rule, so they can get it right when it's somebody in a matter of 2 seconds can say, hey, the guy's safe, that's interference. Okay? Just like the other night with the Texans were playing football, DeAndre Hopkins catches a pass, was ready to catch a pass. The next thing you know, Dan Fouts is announcing the game. It was so obvious it was pass interference. Okay, and they play it back. They call it the league office. The league office doesn't call it pass interference. And you sit back, why are we going through all this if it doesn't work? So I just think we're going to go full circle, and that pendulum's going to swing back to the middle again, because I think we're way too far to the left right now with analytics, with computers making decisions and costing people jobs. It's bad enough right now that people can't even say an opinion about something when the silent majority knows exactly what they meant, but you have people that are just sitting there waiting for people to say the wrong thing so they can terminate their 30 and 40-year careers.
Right.
And this is happening all over the place. And quite frankly, I'm glad I grew up when I grew up. Okay, there's genius in simplicity, and I think that this is a game played by people and not machines.
Right.
And I think that people need to start looking at how far to the left we are with some of this stuff. Okay? Because it's turning off the American public, and I don't know if they're smart enough to see it. But they will see it in a few years when it goes to redo their TV contracts.
let me interject a little bit about some of the points that you